Hi, Google. Thank you for having me. I'm Oliver Roeder. I'm a senior writer at FiveThirtyEight, and I am also FiveThirtyEight's puzzle editor. And I have a book out, which is our first ever FiveThirtyEight book, which is a collection of my puzzle called The Riddler, subtitle Fantastic Puzzles from FiveThirtyEight. Today I just kind of want to talk to you about what the Riddler is and what FiveThirtyEight is and what I do, but I also want to involve the audience, so there will be some participatory puzzles toward the end and prizes, and people will come on stage, and it'll be very exciting. So if this were a normal book talk, it would be very easy for me because I could just read from my book and I wouldn't have to do anything. This is not a normal book. It's a puzzle book. But I do want to read you about 2 paragraphs from the introduction just to kind of give you a sense of what this is all about. And I think if you like what I say, you can buy one, and I'll be happy to sign it afterwards. Let me drink some water first. How about that Amazon, huh? I expected a lot more like scooters and stuff. In 1865, the British Museum received a brittle and breaking scroll of papyrus. The document was discovered in Egypt in the ruins of the mortuary temple of Pharaoh Ramses II. It was well over 3,000 years old and worse for the wear, pictured on the left. At the museum, curators carefully unrolled its 2 sides and placed them in 2 glass frames. One side had a jagged gash and the other had a blank section about 10 feet long. Yet despite its rough condition, much of the document could still be painstakingly deciphered and translated, and it became known as the Rind Papyrus after the antiquarian who had purchased it. Its text begins, quote, "The entrance into the knowledge of all existing things and all obscure secrets." What followed turned out to be the world's oldest collection of math puzzles. The problems posed in the Rind Papyrus won't present much of a challenge to the modern reader, especially for those of you holding this book or holding this book after you purchase it. One of its problems, for example, reads, quote, "Find the volume of a cylindrical granary of diameter 9 and height 10. Another, sum the geometrical progression of 5 terms, of which the first term is 7 and the multiplier 7. But now these puzzles serve a grander purpose. The 84 problems and solutions recorded on the papyrus provide some of the clearest insights into the numerical methods of the ancient Egyptians, some of the world's earliest mathematicians." So this is a very long tradition into which FiveThirtyEight and the Riddler puzzle column is entering, and that's what I want to talk about today. So one sort of hurdle that we want to get people to jump over with the Riddler is this idea that I'm not good at math, right? The truth is I'm not all that good at math. And many people say this, including my boss, Nate Silver, the founder and editor-in-chief of FiveThirtyEight, who says that in the foreword to this very book. So one way to do this, I think, is with engaging math puzzles, puzzles that tell stories, puzzles that have many different angles of attack, and puzzles that aren't, don't echo the things that you didn't like about math class in school. But this is a very self-selected kind of audience, extreme selection bias. I gave this talk once before, and I remember it going really well, but there was a key difference between that time and this time, and it's that time people were drinking. So it already feels different. So lots and lots of people have tried to do this. I keep thinking there's going to be a screen here. Lots and lots of people have tried to do this. We're very far from the first. And like I said, this has been a long, long tradition of which we are just the most recent entrant. And chief among these people, in my mind, is Martin Gardner, who I imagine many of you have heard of. So for, 30 or so years, he wrote a monthly column in Scientific American called Mathematical Games. every month, and it became so popular and was such a driver of sales and subscriptions of Scientific American that they moved it right to the front of the magazine so that people didn't waste any time and they could get right to it. In fairness to myself, my column is weekly. Martin Gardner's column was monthly. So, and Gardner's columns were collected. It took me like 90 minutes to figure out how to make it do this, so please appreciate that. Were collected into many books, many not pictured on this slide, which may be in the back of the mind of my publisher. But so far, my output is significantly smaller. And this is my first book. So what Gardner said, one of the pleasures of writing the column was that it introduced me to so many top mathematicians, which of course I was not. Their contributions to my column were far superior to anything I could write and were a major reason for the column's growing popularity. I feel exactly the same way, except rather than top mathematicians, it's 538 readers. So the Riddler column is a very participatory, collaborative endeavor. I'm called the puzzle editor for a reason. I don't write most of the puzzles. I get ideas from our very numerate and generous and bright readership that I mold into something that we can publish, and I go back and forth with readers about puzzles and solutions, and I'm merely the sort of conduit of this funnel, to mix my metaphors, and it's really a reader-driven enterprise. So I'm harping on Martin Gardner, but I think it's really illustrative. Martin Gardner introduced via his math column many things to the broader world, which are now, I think, extremely familiar. Probably most of you have heard or seen most of these things. And they're not even really thought of as something that would come from a math column, right? They're in sort of a broader cultural category now. And that's kind of what we hope that the Riddler will do, is introduce people to ideas that become very familiar to them and are not sort of locked away in a math book or a math class or something. So I'll go very briefly through what is how many people were familiar with 538? Wow, literally everyone? Well, I'll do this very quickly. We used to be known for filling in maps with different colors, and now we're known for all kinds of stuff. As I was talking to a gentleman before, I'm currently on World Chess Championship coverage duty and scheduled this talk for today because it's an off day in the World Chess Championship. So we're really kind of taking this empirical worldview to everything: culture, sports, economics, science, and of course, politics, which I think we're happy the election is over, but our chart beat is a little sad this week. So you guys like technology and all that kind of stuff. So let me just talk a little very quickly about sort of the logistics. How does this column come together every week? So you guys have email here? Yeah, I have email. Well, that's not my fault. That's my employer's fault. So I have email. I have my very own email account. And see, when people are drunk, that got a much bigger laugh. So readers will send me all kinds of stuff: germs of puzzle ideas, fully fledged puzzles, something that they noticed in their daily life. The puzzle, I think it was last week, their landline and their cell phone had the exact same digits, just an anagram of the digits. And the guy emailed me just saying, I noticed this in real life. So we made it a math puzzle. What are the odds that one of my phone numbers is an anagram of the digits of another one of my phone numbers? So these come in. I pick one. I mold it. I write it up. I send that to my editors. We publish it on 538. And then readers will go email me answers, tweet me answers. See, that's a Google product, Google form, all kinds of stuff. I funnel this into another document. it gets edited, and we put up the solution. So this is kind of the lifespan of a math puzzle at 538. Oh, and then they take all that and turn it into a book, which you can buy. I think it's actually cheaper up there. But so all of this sort of collaboration has given rise to Riddler Nation, which is the name of our collective sort of universe of readers and fans. And so not only on 538.com, but on people's blogs and GitHubs and other websites, people post their ideas, their solutions, extensions to the problems, and it's sort of created an ecosystem kind of that exists online around the puzzle itself, which is very exciting for me. So I showed you a slide earlier of what Gardner has introduced to the world, and these are some of the things much, much less popular than Gardner's, but that the Riddler has kind of started to introduce into the world. And I should note very prominently that almost all of these are reader-created images that resulted from a puzzle that we published. So, for example, Planetary Guardians was a puzzle. Two aliens land on the surface of a planet, each with a piece of a bomb that will destroy that planet, as aliens do. And there's a guardian who needs to stop them from getting together and assembling that. And the question was, at what speed, relative to the speed of the aliens, does the guardian need to go to ensure he saves the planet X% of the time, whatever? And it turns out to be very, very difficult. But that's kind of what it looks like, and that's how that reader chose to approach the problem. Let's see. Picky eating is, imagine that you were an eater so picky and you hated the crust of your bread so much that you would only eat those portions of the sandwich closer to the center than to the crust. And how much of the sandwich would you eat? And it sounds pretty easy. It's actually like a little bit tricky geometrically, and that just shows as your sandwich, triangular sandwich, hexagonal sandwich, et cetera, and sort of the asymptotic behavior of your eating. And the Pringle of probability we'll come back to later. Laser Larry was about a guy named Laser Larry attacking Riddler headquarters. And there's tons and tons of examples. These just look cool. We have puzzles about baking cakes, about making tables efficiently from various sizes of rectangular wood, and a dodgeball duel, except with 3 people. So I'm going to walk you through just one more example quickly of kind of what all this looks like. And I honestly don't remember what comes after that in this presentation, so we'll find out together. We posed this puzzle about a martini glass. And you've drunk enough of your martini such that the drink reached a certain fraction up the side. You tilted it so it was just barely to the point of spilling. How far up the other side does it reach? And I won't walk through all the math right now. You should try it when you get back to your desk, because I'm sure you don't have anything better to do. But this is kind of what my Twitter looks like the day after we publish something. So we have the very mathy folks, the theoretical folks, we have the empirical folks, and we have the people who just say screw math. And this is really, really fun to see different kind of approaches, both serious and not. And then I call all that together, and this is literally what we published. This is what the column looked like the next week. So we pick out some diagrams, typeset some math, write some words, and so on. OK, this one is something that came to us from one of our readers who was a NASA scientist. And this is, you can talk to your partner or your row or your neighbor, whatever you call it. But talk amongst yourselves for like a couple minutes. So what's going on here is you have this menu of items, and you are a space agency. And your goal is to arrive at an alien artifact first. And you have a budget, which is $1 billion. And there are various things that you can buy and fuel as listed here. but there's only a certain amount of them in the world. So why don't we take like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, however long it takes, and then we can kind of discuss. And whoever gets there first, I will buy them a book at the end. How about that? That's exactly right. So there's one way. This is the fastest you can get there. But if you hoard the world's xenon, as one does, so very, very good. Team effort. I love it. I'm going to give a good report to your managers when I leave. Very good. So this took me even longer than the other thing. OK, I'm going too fast. There's going to be 2 participatory riddlers that I think will be less painful than the one that preceded them. There will be one puzzle that will have 2 winners. Those 2 winners will join me on stage. From those 2, there will be 1 winner, and that winner will get a prize, which will be my book, and I will sign it for you. And I will buy it for you, and then sign it for you. OK, so this was a Riddler last summer. And what you are going to do is pick a positive integer. The person who submits the lowest integer, which no one else has chosen, will be 1 winner. And then since we need 2, the person who picks the second lowest integer that no one has chosen. Does that make sense to everyone? I'm sure it does. You can take out your cellular telephone and navigate to tiny.cc/small number. There should be a Google form with which I'm sure you're very familiar. And please put your name or something to identify you, your nickname, and your number. If you don't have a phone, I don't know what to tell you. All right, moment of truth. I guess we need to sort it. How do we do that? 2. Dave, where are you, Dave? All right. Congratulations. Congratulations. And I think there were no 5s, but there is a unique 7, which is Adam. Adam, come on up. OK, well chosen. Yes, I will scroll down. Brad B, class clown. I'm happy to share this later. OK, so the original post was July 28th, 2017. So if you look the week after that, you can find it. OK. So this is where you 2 now find yourselves. You are contestants on a hot new game show called Highest Number Wins. So you're really going to change your mindset from low number to high number. So what's going to happen is you'll each go into a secret booth, not pictured, and you're going to receive a random number, not an integer this time, but a random number between 0 and 1. And your decision will be to keep that number or to ditch it, in which case you will get a second random number, independently random number, between 0 and 1, in which case you have to keep it. So you have one opportunity to kick it out and get a new one, or you can keep the first one. And whichever of you has the higher number at the end will win the grand prize. Does that make sense? So we're going to have to do some sort of jerry-rigging of the secret booth, since there are so many screens around here. Do you have a preference who goes first? I guess you had the lowest number. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first.
OK. So I guess you will have to maybe look at the curtain. Okay. This is an honor system thing here. OK. And audience, please keep your jubilant your reactions have been so jubilant thus far I'm a little bit worried about what's going to happen. So please know. My two least favorite things are speaking in public and operating my computer while people are watching me. So this is, I think this will work. Can people see this? I guess I can. Yeah, okay. All right, so you understand what's about to happen?
I think I do.
So you're going to get a random number between 0 and 1. You're going to decide whether you want to keep that number and that will be your number forever, or if you want to throw it away and get a second one. If you get a second one, you must keep it.
Understood.
So since we don't actually have soundproof booths, how about if you like your first number, give me the thumbs up, and that means you keep it. If you don't like it, give me the thumbs down, and I'll give you a new one. So if you like your number, if you don't like your number.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. I can do that.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. You're gonna remember what I remembered what it is. Okay, sorry. Ignore that, please. Ignore that. I just wanted to go back. Okay. All right. You have your number. Everybody knows what the number is. Okay. Second player, you can, and I guess you can look now that you're locked in. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'd like another one.
Okay. The moment of truth. You can reveal your number now, since all decisions have been made.
0.69. Pretty good. Mm-hmm.
0.69. Very, very well played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the one that you rejected, or was that your first?
Okay.
Just 0.2 something, or yeah.
All right. Ready?
0.2 is terrible.
Is that no? Yeah. Oh, bravo! Congratulations.
Never win games of skill.
Okay, you're welcome to stay there. Go back to your seats. It's almost over. Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So this was a problem on the Riddler, and a ton of people played, and the winning. Did I say what the? And we had random matchups of people, and but there's some math, some real sort of math behind this, some game theoretic math. Obviously assumptions about the players, payoffs, and so forth. But this is kind of what the solution to a problem like this we would publish on 538. So even if you don't think through the game theory, you can still submit, and it can be interesting. And then there's kind of another layer of what is a sort of theoretical solution to this problem. And one way to think about it is that you have a cutoff value, which I'm sure both of you kind of had in the back of your mind as something higher than which I'm going to keep and lower than which I'm going to reject. And a key to solving this problem is to recognize, well, if I get exactly that cutoff number, I'm indifferent between accepting and rejecting, and the math kind of flows from there. So the probability that you win if you keep C must be equal to the probability that you win if you ditch C, and you can just kind of do some algebra. You get a pretty simple quadratic, which you can solve. And does anybody recognize what the sort of game theoretically optimal cutoff, what that number is? Yeah, it's the golden ratio, or the golden ratio conjugate, golden ratio minus 1. So that's pretty cool. And this problem can be solved visually from both players in 3 dimensions using the Pringle probability. And that's that. So I'm really happy to take questions or talk about anything else, and I'm happy to stick around and talk after and sign books and all that stuff too. So thank you. Yes.
Who's going to win the World Chess Championship?
That's a very good question. I would say, well, Carlsen's the heavy favorite. the question is how heavy, and I would say Caruana like plus 500, something like that. If you could get that, I don't know. Because if it remains drawn, Carlson is much stronger rapid and blitz player. So I would still take Carlson. I don't know what the money line is on him though. There's been 4 games, they've all been drawn, so it's very tense. Yes, sir.
How do you recommend improving your intuition around some maths problem like this? How can we learn?
That's a good question. I mean, my stock answer is just like do the Riddler a lot. So in the book, for example, I don't have a great answer for you. But in the book, I've tried to organize the problems from easy to hard. And in the column, we have 2 versions. One is called Riddler Express, and one is called Riddler Classic. And oftentimes, the Express puzzle will be a simplified version of the Classic puzzle. So ideally, if we do our job right, there'll be pieces of the intuition from the more complicated puzzle kind of embedded within the simple puzzle. But yeah, I think just like exposure, for example, like crossword puzzles, right? The only way to get good at crossword puzzles is to do crossword puzzles. There's no other way. So just or language immersion or whatever. I don't know. That's a very unsatisfactory answer, I know, but do math puzzles. I don't know. Martin Gardner books. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel like the style with which you've presented and explained these puzzles has changed over time? Like, do you feel like you've, I don't know, used like more or less technical language or just generally style changes?
That's a really interesting question, which I haven't thought about until right now. I would guess that the language has gotten less technical for a couple of reasons. One is that since we have a big readership that often publishes on their own websites about this, I've been able to outsource a little bit of that. So I could say, well, for this derivation of this part, you can see this guy's excellent, or girl's excellent, woman's excellent solution. And so I'm able to outsource a bit. Second is just, I think we've kind of found our cadence and just, we use a lot less like LaTeX math typesetting nowadays. Have you noticed a trend one way or the other?
I haven't really. I've noticed generally, I guess, some technical publications obviously getting more or less technical over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
What is the most unintuitive solution to a problem you've seen?
The most unintuitive. So I think I have an answer to that. Which has to do. Yeah. So it has to do with this Lonesome King puzzle on the bottom right there. So what this puzzle is another, it goes by another name which is rather dark, which is group Russian roulette. So these are a bunch of people. A dot is a person, and they randomly shoot at another person in a huge circle. And if you get shot, you die. And the question is, what are the chances that there's a single person left at the end, as opposed to 0 people? And this is incredibly, incredibly hard. And the answer is about 50%, but not exactly 50%. And it doesn't approach 50% either. It oscillates depending on the initial size of the crowd. So if there's like 10,000 people or 20,000 people or 30,000 people, it's very, very strange. And there's actually like a academic math paper about this that basically says this is really, really weird. So that's one example. Yeah.
What's the most surprising field of math someone has used in a solution that you really enjoyed?
Most surprising field of math. That is a good question. So I would say, like, just as background, I mean, tons of like combinatorics happen, like lots of simulation, Monte Carlo stuff gets used, probability. We haven't had much like analysis or like topology type stuff. People submit in very interesting programming languages sometimes. It's a really good question. I don't have a great answer, but the media that people use, from like cocktail napkins to like Python and everything in between, is always really heartening for me to see. Let me think about that. If you're still around, I'll let you know. What percentage of the people get the question, misunderstand the question, or get the question wrong, or both? It is extremely high variance. So there's extremely high variance in, first of all, the number of people who submit answers. So I would say the average is on the order of a few thousand, but I would say the variance is on the order of like 1,000 or something. So, you know, and there's a selection issue, right, which is you're more likely to submit an answer if you think your answer is right, I think, generally speaking. If I had to guess, I would say like 60 to 70% correct on average, but there's a huge band around that. The Riddler Classic, which is the harder one, last week we got 3 answers submitted, which was the fewest we've ever gotten. It was just, now I keep remembering that this is going to be tweeted to like 15 million people or whatever. So I don't. It was very hard and involved. So I think that's why. Not that it was difficult necessarily, but. Hi.
Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Does Nate Silver give performance reviews with a band of uncertainty?
Again, see. No. No. We are subject to certain corporate policies of the Walt Disney Corporation, and they govern that. Well, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, plus or minus 0. But I will bring that. I will suggest that to him. Yeah. Or give bonuses with a band of uncertainty. Roll a dice. Yeah. Or we could just do Wolfram Alpha and click the button. Yeah.
Does your interest in puzzles extend to other kinds of puzzles? You mentioned crosswords earlier.
Yes. Crosswords are a big hobby of mine. So I've competed a couple times in the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament, which is like the de facto national championship. And one of my claims to journalistic fame was I broke a crossword plagiarism scandal and got the crossword editor of the USA Today removed from his duties. This was I guess, a victory for 538 data journalism, and is a relatively interesting story. So a computer programmer web scraped like 50,000 something crossword puzzles from all different outlets and put them into this like format that he had created. And one thing you could do with this database is match 2 pairs of puzzles, basically like a similarity score. And you know, these 2 puzzles are 3%, have 3% match, or 5% match, or 0% match, whatever. And what we found was that all of the puzzles that matched came from 2 outlets. One was USA Today, and one was a syndicated puzzle called Universal. And they were both, it used to be called Universal Press Syndicate or something. And they're both edited by the same guy. So this like really crazy fact like dropped out of this data set. So that happened, and then we paired that with like traditional reporting. So like I went to the library and pulled like the microfilm to make sure like this was actually the puzzle in the paper that day for a bunch of them. And sorry, this is probably not what you wanted me to talk about, but you know, this is the question answer as prerogative, right? You can ask whatever you want. I can answer whatever I want. And he took the microphones away, so. Yeah, so, and then, you know, we obviously called this guy for comment and talked to people in the crossword world and that kind of stuff. So I love crossword puzzles. I'm good, not great at solving them. Other puzzles. I can't do, what's it called, Sudoku. I can't. I don't know what it is about me. I just, not can't like I hate them, like can't like I don't know how to solve them. Can too. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just haven't devoted enough time. But what about you?
I'm a big fan of crossword puzzles.
Have you ever tried to create a crossword puzzle? Construct a crossword puzzle?
I haven't made one yet, but you saw that article. The New York Times did a series on how to make your own crossword puzzle.
I did, yeah.
So that's got me thinking.
I've tried to make one and I found it extremely difficult. I heard there's an internal Google crossword puzzle. Is that true?
I haven't heard of one.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I'm not as familiar with cryptics, but I like them.
Well, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry, was there something else
No, I was just curious, I do various types of puzzles, and some of them are just, find the lateral thinking that gets you to the answer, and these are very different. And I was wondering, first of all, whether the same kind of person is attracted to both, and also whether you find it that it tickles the same part of your brain, or if it's something very different for you, or if one type of puzzle draws you to another type of puzzle.
Crosswords and the Riddler is my puzzle diet, yeah. Okay, thank you everyone so much for spending your lunch hour with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be, I guess, back there. So thank you.